Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on the John Campea YouTube channel. This is, of course, the more laid-back, relaxed version of the show, where all we do is take your live comments and questions. I am, of course, your host, John Campea. Awesome to have you guys back here this afternoon. And here's a neat little story. So you guys, some of you guys who are truly long-term viewers, have been watching me since the early days of AMC. You might remember one of the people that worked with me at AMC for a while was Brooke Chavez, who's now known as Brooke Solis Chandler. And Brooke and I got together for lunch last week to catch up. And while we were having lunch, she goes, I really miss doing shows with you. And I was like, well, why don't you come in and do one? She is now a practicing lawyer. She has several podcasts coming up. Yes. You're working in family law and all that kind of stuff. How are you doing? It's good to have you here.
I'm doing so amazingly great. Yep. You know,
it's been like 7 years since we've done a video together.
Isabella was like 2 or 3 years old. That's my daughter. I'm now the Disso Queen of OC. That's the Divorce Queen of Orange County and Los Angeles and San Diego. But yeah, I was just like, you know what? I really, really miss being on camera, talking movies, all things entertainment, pop culture. I was like, John, take me back, please. So I convinced him, guys, and you know, hopefully I'm here to be around for a little bit.
Well, it's good to have you here, and I thought it would be great for you to come in and join us for doing an open mic. Yeah. And now, normally, guys, what we would do is jump right into the questions. But I mean, obviously, a little something happened a little bit earlier today after we did the John Campea show that I should at least touch on here for a second. But I'm sure several of you guys are firing in questions to ask about this anyway. We've got a new head of DC Films. They've been searching for a while, and the announcement has come out, and it couldn't have been better. James Gunn and Peter Safran are now the co-CEOs and chairman of DC Film, the film division under Warner Brothers. James Gunn, of course, with the creative, Peter Safran with the production experience, working together, the new heads. James Gunn has made, I believe, the second best DCU film. I think the best one is still Man of Steel, but The Suicide Squad is, I think, the second best movie the DCU has. And of course, his show Peacemaker was like the #1 show in the world. I think the best TV show DC has ever had. And yes, I include Smallville in that. I think Peacemaker is simply the best one they've ever done. And now James Gunn is the head of DC Films. And I told everybody David Zaslav was going to make sure they got in the right person. They weren't going to rush. They weren't going to whatever. They went through their Rolodex. Peter Lynn was who they were looking at. They couldn't make that deal work. No problem. They went to James Gunn and Peter Safran. Peter Safran, for those of you who don't know his name, he is a very experienced producer with Warner Brothers. He's got a long history with Warner Brothers, working both with their comic book franchises and their horror franchises and a lot of stuff like that. And him and James Gunn have worked together before. So you got James Gunn, who understands the production, the world of making these things. You got Peter Safran, who's more astute and tuned into the production side of things. This is a great thing, because I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't have been happy or very excited about just James Gunn running DC because he's a creative. He's a creative genius, but that's different from running a studio. Having him with Peter Safran working together, bonkers. Absolutely bonkers, fantastic, good days. And remember, for those of you who might be going, don't forget this. Kevin Feige was about to make, and was in the process and was making James Gunn basically his right-hand man. Remember, James Gunn was going to become the shepherd of all the galactic, universal, space-related stuff in the MCU. So he was kind of becoming Kevin Feige's main lieutenant. So Kevin Feige believed this is a guy who can run this sort of thing. And now he's running DC, and I could not be more excited. Anyway, I just thought I should touch on that for just a minute. I know many of you guys will probably ask about it in the live questions, so let's not waste any more time and get to the live questions. So, Brooke, what is up first?
By the way, I love Suicide Squad, one of my favorite movies.
So good.
We dressed up as Harley Quinn, the old one and the new one, for Halloween when she was 5. We'll have to share those later.
I'll have to take a look at those. Those are going to be great. All right, what do we got first?
So we have Brandon Nezamuddin, who says, today is James Gunn Day.
Yes.
First, the awesome... And GOTG stands for
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special trailer dropped, and now he's going to be running DC. It is James Gunn Day.
It's crazy because on the same day that Marvel launches the trailer for the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which is a Marvel property that James Gunn did, is also the day that Warner Brothers announces that James Gunn, the guy who made that holiday special you're about to watch, is now our big chief. I don't think that was a coincidence. Because we've seen a lot of times Disney and Marvel try to drop something when another studio has something big out that day. I don't think it's any coincidence that Marvel dropped the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer today, and it's the same day that Warner Brothers said, yeah, let's drop the news about James Gunn.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. All right, what's next?
Magic K said, just announced James Gunn and Peter Safran to lead DC Studio. What are the pros and cons of this decision?
Well, pros, again, in James Gunn, you've got a guy who Kevin Feige was having run stuff like that for Marvel for part of their cinematic universe. He has made some of the best stuff in the DCU. Again, Peacemaker, I think, is the best DC show ever. Obviously, the Suicide Squad, while not a financial success, was one of the best films they've ever done. He's, of course, the guy who did Guardians of the Galaxy. He's got history with Slither and Trauma and lots of diversity. Peter Safran, of course, brings that producer side of things, which is going to be very valuable. I think it's absolutely essential that Peter Safran is there if James Gunn is going to be there as well. So as far as the cons go, my one slight worry will be, again, is that it doesn't always work out great when a creative becomes the head of a studio. That hasn't always worked out great. But again, the fact that they've partnered James Gunn with Peter Safran, I think that's going to overcome that. And I think good days lay ahead. I'm very excited about it.
Hopeful.
Hopeful.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
what's next?
Andy, half I assume you've already heard.
That means
about.
one of two.
One of two, I assume.
Yeah.
It means half to me. I've already heard you guys, I'm back in the host chair,
It's been a while.
Give me a little leeway about Zaslav finally naming not one, but two CEOs for the newly branded DC studios. I don't know about this, but as for
there's two of two.
There's two of two. There's the second part. Okay, I'm getting it. Creatively mapping out a cinematic universe, James Gunn is not a bad pick as he was Feige's right-hand man to chart out the cosmic side of the Marvel comic universe.
It's funny because, I love James Gunn. You guys know how I feel about James. I think the guy is incredible. He's come into my studio before. He's an incredibly gracious dude. And yet when we've talked about who could be the head of DC, I don't think I've ever said James Gunn. But I never really thought about the idea because, again, I don't think just a filmmaker should just suddenly be the head of a studio. There's two different types of jobs. Mm-hmm. But having him, I didn't even think about pairing him up with somebody else that has more of that other side of experience. Together, listen, I've said ever since Warner Brothers got taken over by David Zaslav, I've said I think brighter days are ahead for DC. And while everybody cried, boo-hoo, they killed the Batgirl movie, ooh, I told you that was a quality control issue that is going to set them up for success. Do you think, I guarantee you, if Kevin Feige had what he thought was a piece of garbage movie in front of him, there's no way he would release it. You cannot harm the overall brand. And I said for a long time, I think brighter days are laying ahead. Them getting Peter Safran and James Gunn to run this is a stroke of genius. Mm-hmm. I'm extremely, and listen, even right decisions can go wrong, right? Right decisions go wrong. I'm a poker guy. You know that. You can go all in with pocket aces. That's the right decision to do, but you can still lose. You never know. And maybe this goes badly. But for right now, I think this is a brilliant choice, and I'm really happy about it. All right, what's next?
All right, let's see. J Master breaking per THR. James Gunn and Peter Safran have been tapped to co-lead DC Studios as co-chairs and co-CEOs for the next 4 years. But the goal is for Gunn to be executive producer of DC in the future.
Yeah, so I saw a lot of people writing into me saying, but John, it's only 4 years. Why is it only 4 years? Mm-hmm. Guys, Bob Chapek's deal to be the CEO of Disney is 3 years.
Right.
This isn't like NBA contracts where they hand out a 15-year contract and stuff like that. James Gunn is going to want to maintain his flexibility. But listen, James Gunn may do this for 3 years and realize it's not working, it's not for him, and he'll want an out. Or maybe he'll just put out bomb after bomb after bomb and Warner Brothers will want out.
And they'll be happy it was only 3 years.
And then they'll be happy it was only a couple of years. But this is standard. The idea is that you get a few years into it, and if things go well, they won't even wait to the end of the 4 years. They'll get 2.5 years into it, and then you'll hear a 5-year contract extension. Right. And then they'll get a few years into that, and they'll either end it or you hear about another 3-year contract extension. So the 4-year thing should not worry anybody at all. This is standard.
And by the way, that THR was the Hollywood Reporter. And a lot of you audience followers and people who are asking questions love acronyms. So bear with me on this because
as we work through acronyms.
I have to work through all of your acronyms. That's what I'm reading, acronym after acronym. So I'm figuring it out as I go.
All right, what's next?
Back in Hollywood. Hero75 said, my girlfriend has a theory about how Ant-Man, Wasp, and Cassie get suits in the movie, even though they were shrunk without them. Kang has a trophy room with the suits of all the heroes he had killed.
Well, here's the thing, Hero. Be careful about building your entire thesis around what you see in a trailer. Trailers are made and cut and arranged in such a way that oftentimes they don't actually accurately reflect how a series of events lead to certain points. I wouldn't doubt at all if, we saw them getting sucked into a ball of light, right, in the trailer, but they could have popped back out 10 seconds later. This is my guess, and it's just a guess, is that at some point they decide we need to go into the quantum realm. And maybe, I don't know, maybe their mom, maybe her mom goes into the quantum realm and they decide to go in after them. But I think they suit up themselves and go into the quantum realm because, again, I don't think it happens exactly the way we see it in the trailer. Just a thought, though. All right.
Interesting theory.
What's next?
AK says, wow, James Gunn pulled a hell of a 180 since that Twitter controversy. I hope now the new DC film's intro is an awesome dance number.
Well, first of all, the opening number to Peacemaker is the greatest television show opening ever of all time. It's amazing. Now, that said, talk about a 180. James Gunn is the golden child at Disney and Marvel. He's basically become Kevin Feige's right-hand man. And then he gets fired because of decade-old tweets. Every studio in the business line up to hire James Gunn. And he ultimately decides to go with Warner Brothers. They offer him any movie he wants to do. And he decides he wants to do Suicide Squad, and that's where it goes. Now, here's something funny. Do you know who the person was, Jonathan? I'm going to ask you this. Jonathan Boyko's sitting back there, by the way. Do you know who it was that fired James Gunn from Disney and Marvel? Do you recall who that was?
Well, wasn't it Horn?
Yes.
And he regretted it?
It was Alan Horn,
Yeah.
who was the High Lord Chief of all Disney studios, who's the one who fired him. And I was pretty critical of Alan Horn
Right.
when he did that. Now, I'm a huge Alan Horn fan, but I was very critical of that move. Guess who is the main consultant to David Zaslav right now?
Alan Horn.
Alan Horn, the same Alan Horn, is no longer at Disney. He is now the high right hand of David Zaslav. He is the king's hand, basically. He's the main counselor and consultant to David Zaslav when it comes to all things movies. And he happens to be that as they bring in James Gunn. I don't want to cause any wild conspiracy theories here. What if this was a very long laid out plan? What if Zaslav knew, or what if Alan Horn knew, I'm only going to be here at Disney for a little while longer. And at some point I'm going to go over to Warner Brothers. And hey, James, how would you like to come over to Warner Brothers with me in a couple of years? We'll fire you now, open you up. Again, I'm not saying that's what happened.
That's some Otto Hightower
Yeah.
long play.
That is a long game.
That's some super manipulation of the algorithm here.
Yes, and I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if someday Alan Horn, when he goes back to retirement again, if he's sitting on the beach and decides to write a memoir and he says, let me tell you about the greatest heist I ever pulled, the James Gunn heist.
Iger is just like, good, good.
All right, what's next?
All right. Yusuf Alvi says, maybe I'm crazy, but I remember a lot of reports and talk that Batgirl would be released in theaters and how excited the studio was. How could the trades be so wrong? Maybe I'm losing my mind. LOL.
Well, no, the talk was never about Batgirl getting released in studios. What happened was that Blue Beetle got the go-ahead to be released in theaters. And a lot of us, this is before we started hearing just how bad Batgirl was turning out, thought, well, if they're doing that with Blue Beetle, they'll do it with this, right? None of the major trades, as much as I can remember, not one of them actually came out and said Batgirl is going to be released theatrically. As far as I know, that never happened. But a lot of people started to speculate that since Blue Beetle did, this one would too. But That's when we started hearing, I know I started hearing from my personal sources. A lot of you guys heard other people also had their sources saying that Batgirl was an unmitigated mess. It was an absolute mess.
Who starred in Batgirl? I don't know.
That was the girl from
In the Heights.
In the Heights, yes, who was fantastic. Love her. And when the studio
Love her
canceled the movie, they were quick to come out and say, hey, this isn't her fault. Like, she's great. We want to work with her again in the future. But from everything we heard, the movie was turning out to be an unmitigated mess, and they killed it, of course. And listen, if that's going to better the help, sometimes it's addition by subtraction. And if this is going to help the health of the DC universe moving forward, I'm all for it. And who's to say we won't get a Batgirl again another time?
Yeah,
She
I love
looked
her.
great in the part.
She
love
looked
her.
great.
Her
in
name
it,
was
yeah.
Leslie Grace, by the way.
Leslie Grace, yes.
She was the one who was in the Heights, supposed
Yes.
to be at Stanford, who was trying to get the money. And
I
the main
think-
character, right? Of
Yes, I
course.
believe that was her.
Okay,
All right.
love her.
What's next?
All right, A-Raw 2006. The Guardians Holiday Special trailer dropping same day James Gunn is named co-CEO of DC Studios. Loki really did open the multiverse. Excuse
Yeah,
me, I moved for a second.
again.
Loki really did rip open the multiverse.
Good day for Gunn.
Yes, he did.
I do not believe for a second. There you go. I do not believe for a second this was a coincidence. I don't think Warner Brothers went, wait, they dropped the Guardians trailer today? On the same day we were going to announce James. Oh, what a coincidence. No
Wow.
way.
Yeah, exactly.
No way this was a coincidence. This was, I think this is Warner Brothers sticking it to them. It's like, everybody excited about that Guardians thing? Great. He's with us now. I just thought this was a big ballsy power play move, the type of power play move that we normally see Marvel do. So this was pretty cool to see. All right, what's next?
All right. Yusuf Alvi again says, can we stop saying that Charles is better than Khabib now? I love him, but the crown is on the Eagle's head and it always will be. Islam smashed him.
Yeah, listen. So I can't help but chuckle when I hear some people who know nothing about mixed martial arts watch a couple of UFCs and think like, oh, that Charles Oliveira, he was better than Khabib. Listen, Charles Oliveira went on a really great run, and he is a world-class fighter. Make no mistake about it. Nurmagomedov would have smashed him in under a round. Okay? Khabib is the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. Oliveira now has 9 losses. You know how many Khabib lost in his entire career? Goose egg. None. He was never in trouble. Like, he's never even been in a fight where he was in danger. He is so far above everybody else. It's crazy. Islam just smashed Oliveira, and Khabib, who is basically his big brother, would smash Islam. So yeah, no, any talk about how Charles Oliveira would have stood a micro chance against Khabib Nurmagomedov is absolutely out of their mind and has no idea what they're talking about. And I see some people saying John Jones. Don't make me laugh. John Jones is nowhere near Khabib's level. John Jones has been pushed. John Jones, he lost, quite frankly. He lost. Oh, I'm forgetting the name of the one Mexican fighter that he fought. That I think he lost that fight. He nearly
that narrows
got
it down a lot, John.
I know,
Mexican
but
fighter.
the tall, super tall, lanky, I'm forgetting his name. He also came this close to losing against Gustafsson. He came really close to losing a couple of times. He had to, of course, use performance-enhancing drugs and get coked out and all that kind of stuff. Khabib never has even been remotely in trouble in his career. He's never come even remotely close to losing a fight. So take this I like John Jones very much. But in pound for pound, John Jones isn't in Khabib's even sphere of universes. John Jones has lost fights and has nearly lost fights several times. No one's ever come close to beating Khabib. No one's come close. It's not even close. So take that weakness out of here. Take that out of here. All right.
Did you used to practice a little MMA?
I still
remember
train.
that.
Yeah, I still train and stuff like that.
That's how
but
you got Ann, right?
no. Ann would kick my ass. Like, Ann is 102 pounds of Filipino fury.
She's amazing.
She would totally kick my ass.
Hi, Ann,
All right.
by the way.
What's next?
Okay. Sam Fisher says, Rob, I think you have to open Sandman season 2 with Tales in the Sand and not Midsummer Night Dream, unless it's done like episode 4, cutting between the two, or like episode 11 as 2 short stories in 1 episode. You can replace Cluracan, and Nuala with Oberon and Titania in A Season of Mist, or vice versa in Midsummer.
You did those names way better than I would have.
I know Midsummer's Night's Dream. That's a great play.
Right, but this is the different one. This is the one from Sandman. And unfortunately, you know, Rob is not here on open mic today. So, and I'm not familiar. I mean, I just watched season 1 of Sandman, but I'm not really well versed on the Sandman story. So I can't answer that for him. But all I can say is that I thought season 1 was fantastic. I really hope that Netflix sacks up and does a season 2. And if it doesn't, I hope it gets picked up somewhere else because we really need to see another season of that. Okay.
Nice.
What's next?
Okay. CJ Rebirth. I get sad every time now I hear the Brandy C song. Damn you, ego, and rest in peace to Star-Lord's Walkman.
Listen, I gotta say, one of the most, everybody talked about it at first, but I don't hear people talking about it a lot these days. The soundtrack of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are such an integral part of the DNA of those films and the music choices all along the way. It's still this day, a lot of the songs that I heard that were in Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy has now totally hijacked those songs because whenever I hear any of those songs now, all I think about is Guardians of the Galaxy. Actually, let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Do you have any song that was in a movie that now when you hear that song, all you can think about is that movie?
Absolutely. And it's not a movie, it's a series. It's one of my daughter's favorites. When I hear that song from Imagine Dragons that comes on Arcane,
Oh, yep.
every time I hear it, I'm like, oh, Arcane, it was such a great
Everybody
series.
wants to be my enemy.
Exactly.
That is my
one,
favorite animated show of all time.
amazing.
I-
that
oh.
100% is one of the songs.
All right, what's next? Did we miss one there? Yeah, we missed Russell's.
Oh yeah, Russell Amador says, "Where's my rated R Dark Barney movie at? Damn it!"
Listen, that is still that's a real thing. Who was it again that was
Oh
going to
my
be
God.
producing that? Jonathan, do
Dark
you remember?
Barney movie.
It was one of the. Was it?
I don't recall.
I think it was. Oh, why am I
I'm
freezing
gonna
on
look it up.
Wait, what is this movie
but-
supposed to be about?
Okay, so an actor. It was an actor. I'm trying to remember who it was. Guys in the live chat, help me out here if you guys remember who it was. But an actor, and I can't remember who it was, said they were
Oh, Daniel Kaluuya.
Daniel Kaluuya,
Oh,
yes,
right.
from Get Out.
Right.
So he was going, and thank you to Sebastian and everybody in the live chat for finding that in too. He got the rights to Barney. And he said they were going to make a dark Barney movie that's going to subvert everybody's
Rated R
expectations.
too.
He didn't say rated
This is
R.
not like a furry type thing.
Did say rated
Am I
R.
allowed to say that?
But yeah, you can say whatever you want. Yeah, we're not on television. He did not say rated R, but he said dark,
dark
and it was
Barney
going to
movie.
subvert expectations. To which we all mocked him because how do you subvert expectations of that? By the way, Raymond Verada just pointed out Death to Smoochie. That's your dark version of Barney.
It could be like a Five Nights at Freddy's type deal. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, but they're making that movie too with the Henson Company.
Oh, nice.
They're making that. But I don't know if any of you guys have not seen. I'm sure many of you have not seen Death to Smoochie. Robin
No.
Williams,
Friends
Edward
come in
Norton
all
Jr.
sizes.
Oh my God, that movie! It got trashed.
I loved it.
I did too, but it got
Wait,
completely
what's the
trashed.
premise of this?
Okay,
with,
so
synopsis.
Edward, so Robin Williams plays a children's TV entertainer, and what was his Rainbow Randy or Rainbow
Something like that. I'm gonna
Rainbow
look it up.
something, right? So he's a song and dance to his kid shows, but then he gets busted for being this really dark and he's dealing drugs and taking payments from people. So he gets canceled, right? So then they find this good-hearted children's performer played by Ed Norton Jr. who dresses
Love
up
him.
in this Barney-like costume, and his name is Smoochie.
Yeah, Rainbow Randolph.
Smoochie.
Yeah.
Rainbow Randolph, that's
Yeah.
what it was. And Smoochie is great and is super big hit, but Robin Williams wants his place back. And he's trying to kill. It's hilarious. Danny
I forgot.
DeVito's in it.
DeVito directed it.
Oh, I forgot
Yeah.
DeVito directed
and
it.
I forgot Jon Stewart was in it too.
Yes, Jon Stewart is great in it. Listen, it got killed by audiences and critics when it first came out. So I was late to watching it. I saw like a year after it came out. I'm like, what is everybody talking about? This movie is brilliant. It's so good.
I gotta watch it now.
Because what is it? The Miracle Network. They're the most ruthless of all the charities. Oh my God, it's so good. Gotta see it. All right, what's next?
Okay, Patrick Hamilton says, do you think we may get a post-credit cameo in some form of the Fantastic Four and Ant-Man 3 when it comes out in February?
It's definitely possible. We talked about this on the John Campea show earlier today. I don't think so. Like with Fantastic Four, you want to announce Fantastic Four. You want Fantastic Four to come out with a bang, not with, here's a quick cameo in somebody else's movie. It's possible. I'm not saying they won't do it. It is possible, but I have a hard time imagining Kevin Feige wants to introduce the Fantastic Four that way, it'll be with a huge bang, I think. So while it's possible, I'd say the chances are small. All right, what's next?
All right. We have Russell Amador again after Ant-Man and Loki. Kang to appear. Where next?
This one.
That's a good question. Yeah, Kang will appear in the Barney dark R-rated movie. No, where does he appear next? I mean, obviously he appears in Ant-Man 3 next, but where does he appear after that? Probably Loki. And I'm going to guess one or two other things. I don't know if you saw this, Jonathan. A bunch of people were speculating that in the Ant-Man 3 trailer, when they're in the quantum realm, that one of the buildings was shaped out of rings. And a lot of people saying that it looks very similar to Shang-Chi's rings.
I looked at that.
I
did
looked
not
at it
see
too.
that.
Yeah.
That looked just more like Time Variance Authority, like that style of architecture.
Yeah, I didn't see it myself. I mean, I looked at it and thought, okay, I get why you'd think that.
I was looking for something that looked like the rings, and I'm like, that does not look like the 10 rings.
Yeah, I didn't see much myself, but where after that, I don't know, but I suspect leading up to Kang Dynasty in 2025, we're probably going to see him pop up a lot. All right, what's next?
Abraham Marie says, you guys see screenshots of some of the design, mainly the spinning rings of the Micro City and Ant-Man.
We were just talking
compared
about
to the 10 rings and Bangle. You were just talking about that. Yeah.
Again, it's not the craziest. I mean, yeah, check it out there. It's not the craziest, but I think that's a stretch. I don't know that anything within in a circle necessarily means the 10 rings.
They do look very similar, though.
Again, that's why
extremely similar.
I don't blame anybody when you look at it for your mind to go there. But how many times have we had that happen where something in a trailer kind of looks like something else and everybody jumps on this theory bandwagon about that and it turns out to be not that at all. So
it looks like it's part of architecture. It doesn't look like it's
Symbolic
I don't think so, but I'm not going to say it's impossible.
right. I can't just say no, it's not.
Yeah, I'm not going to straight up say no. I'm just going to say my perception of is not, but hey, we'll find out.
Sounds like enough people are noticing it, though.
A lot of people are noticing. Whole ton of people are. All right, what do we got next?
Connor Dorian says Black Adam has made 142.9 million worldwide.
Yeah, not a bad. Listen, a lot of filmmakers would kill to open a movie with 140 plus million worldwide, but it needs to do better. This movie, we kind of established earlier today on the show, this movie needs to cross 450 million worldwide to break even. That's a rough thing, but it's going to be about 450 million it needs to break. So it's got a lot of work to do. And here's the problem. There's a train coming down the track called Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever. That's going to soak up like all the box office dollars like a wet nap to spilt beer. It's going to soak it all up. So Black Adam's got some work to do over the next couple of weeks if it's going to cross that breaking even mark. I hope it does because I had a lot of fun
Especially
with it.
after the budget for advertising.
Yeah, because they dropped about 100 million on this thing. So they, like I said, the 100 million plus the 200 million production budget, this thing needs to make about 450 to break even. So here's hoping it does.
Trip to Paradise is really, that's a joke.
Yeah, George Clooney stole all of Black Adam's
Julia
money.
Roberts, she's really taking over the big screen these days.
All right, what's next?
I was surprised, though, one thing about Black Adam, how many pop culture references there were in that.
Oh, yeah, there were a lot.
Even like the Clint Eastwood stuff and all the music. Yeah.
By the way, did you know? Well, because he had watched a little clip of Clint Eastwood on TV,
Yeah.
right? So I got that joke. Did you notice? This is how you can tell the post-credit scene for Black Adam. By the way, this is a minor spoiler to Black Adam for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. It's a minor spoiler. It doesn't really give anything major away. But this is how you can tell that the post-credit scene came long after they shot the regular thing. Because remember, when they shot Black Adam, Toby Emmerich was the head of Warner Brothers Films at that time. They're like, no more Henry Cavill as Superman. So when Black Adam's having that fight in the bedroom and he burns the hole in the poster of Superman, what part was burned out? The face, right? So again, just like in Shazam, you just saw Superman from here down, even in the poster. So they made sure not to have Henry Cavill's face because Henry Cavill at the time when they shot the movie was no longer Superman.
And you saw a lot of like Batfleck toys and stuff.
That, I meant to bring that up on the show earlier today, was that the Batman toy in that scene was not just some random generic Batman toy. That was specifically the Batfleck toy.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means anything, but it was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting. All right. What's next?
Radio says, compared to other shows like Barry, The Boys, Peacemaker, and Sandman, would you say House of the Dragon is the best TV season of the year so far?
Boy, bring up that question again, Taylor. Let me look at that list. The Boys, Peacemaker. Listen, I get pretty excited in the nethers for Peacemaker. That show is really good, but it's such a different kind of show than House of the Dragon. It's hard to compare. I'll say this for now. It's in the discussion for me of the best season of television of the year. So, but then again, I can't remember when the last season of Yellowstone ended, but Succession was outstanding. I mean, look, there's a lot of good stuff. I don't know. It's a good question. I need some more time to think about it. I just saw the finale. Give me a few months to really soak in it and think about it.
You got to marinate on it.
Yes, you can't just too quickly. All right, what's next?
Ryan Holman theory. For the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, I think Mark Hamill is playing Santa. Also hope Ray is doing well. Thanks for all you guys do for us.
Yeah, Ray is home. He's recovering. He's doing as well. Thing I didn't even know was Mark Hamill supposed to be in Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special?
I had heard that they were neighbors or something like that, and during the pandemic, they like reached out to each other, and he said that there was a role for him, but I couldn't remember if it was for the holiday special or if it was for Guardians 3, but I remember they were going to collaborate somehow.
I'm going to look up to see if there's any cast information on it.
I'll tell you what, because if Mark Hamill shows up in that as Santa, that's brilliant.
Look what a great Santa he would make, though.
He would make a great Santa,
Made for it.
a moody Santa. I would like that a lot with blue milk. I think that would be fantastic. Blue milk and cookies. All right, what's next?
Miguel Zayn, hopefully I said that right. Hey people, I hope you guys are doing well. Greetings from Toronto. Go Raps. Sorry to LA people, by the way. The Lakers suck right now.
Yes, they do.
But LeBron James is still the GOAT. Anyways, regarding the Ant-Man trailer, did you guys get a sense or vibe that the AF4 film should feel, look, and have the same vibes as this? With the weird wackiness and scientific adventure aspect that the trailer showed? Or do you feel like it would all fit F4? Thoughts?
Okay, so this is interesting because Rob and I were talking about this earlier today. I really hope Fantastic Four feels a little bit more real world because, listen, I love Ant-Man. I love Ant-Man. I like the first one a little bit more than the second one, but still, I love the Ant-Man films. And the trailer was good, but it's so otherworldly and so wacky. It's a little disconnect. I for one hope, and Rob was mentioning this earlier too, that the Fantastic Four movie, while you can get into that stuff later, I hope it's a little bit more feet on the ground. I like seeing the fantastical within the mundane. You guys have heard me use that phrase before. Like something with wild superpowers, but within our real world, so it feels special. Wackiness within wackiness just doesn't have the same impact to me. So I hope that Fantastic Four will be a little bit more feet on the ground. At least we'll see if that's what they do. All right.
That makes sense.
What's next?
Sam Fisher says, John, if you want to see Doctor Who at its best, watch the episode Vincent and the Doctor. The story is mid, but the last 10 minutes will make you cry.
You started off your question by saying, if you want to get caught up on Doctor Who, I don't. I have, listen, again, and that is not me bagging on Doctor Who. I've not watched it to think good or bad of it. I don't think badly of Doctor Who, but I do know I don't have any interest. So I won't be watching Doctor Who, unfortunately, even though I got several people in my family really telling me I should watch it. But I mean, listen, it's too late for me.
That's what I was going to ask. Why not, John? Like, what's the hesitancy?
I think part of it was that, I watched reruns back when I was like a child of the early Doctor Who, because remember Doctor Who started in the 60s.
Yeah, it's been around forever.
And so I just remember it as being that. Now they relaunched it. What was it? 2004, 2005,
Yeah,
something
I think
like
around
that.
5.
Around 2005, they relaunched it, and that's when it became a real big fan favorite. But that was what are we at now? Almost 15 years ago, 17 years ago.
More than that, like going on 18 now.
17, 18 years ago. So it's like, I've missed the Doctor Who bus. I don't feel like jumping now
Yeah, I
on and
think
getting
you're a
caught up
little-
in 20 seasons. And
That would be amazing.
yeah, it's just, but so I'll just let everybody else
Unless we
enjoy
have to
it.
bunker down
Yeah.
at some point.
All right, what's next?
Ismael Montoya says, hey, John, a few weeks ago, you mentioned you'd consider selling the channel in the future. what would you consider doing when there's no longer the John Campea show? I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. A lot. That's a great picture for that.
That's hungry.
Thing for a grateful universe. Yeah, listen, I've been doing this a long time. Like I've been doing, like, if you go all the way back to my movie blog days, I've been doing this for 15, 16, 17 years. So I've been doing this a long time.
Do they know you have a JD?
No.
Oh,
Well, I mean, no, like,
John
no,
Campea trivia for you.
most of my audience,
Oh, wow.
actually, I think a lot of my audience knows I used to work in law and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I think for me, at some point, we'll change the name of the show, we'll change the name of the channel, and then a little while, sometime after that, I will look at either passing on or selling the channel and the show and stuff like that, so that it can continue without me. What do I do then? Well, there's a couple of things that I really, really appeal to me. One is doing more producing, because I really do have a itch for producing. And honestly, the second answer, nothing.
World of Warcraft.
Nice.
A lot of rediscovering World of Warcraft, whatever the latest video games are. I want to get involved in my local charities and work more with like local nonprofits and things like that as a volunteer with free time, which I don't have any of right now. And probably, Ann and I are going to have kids at some point. And so the idea that I get to be a full-time stay-at-home dad to me is super appealing to me.
I mean, hopefully you make a pretty penny off of what you've created all this time, and then you can be a hands-on dad, and then invest in some of the things that you're passionate about, right?
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
also a possibility.
So we had a,
What happened?
The slider camera died.
it's,
Rest in
it-
peace.
The battery sometimes gets overheated and it dies on the slider.
okay. Do you have the flip screen open?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's
But
just-
particularly that, because we don't have a fan on it, it will over time, the battery saps, whereas these, even if it's plugged in, whereas these
okay.
won't.
I get it. We'll
Just for
let's,
that monitor?
No, just for the one
Just for the
camera.
wide shot.
We'll get that.
Oh,
We'll get
okay.
that addressed and fixed. There's ways to fix that. But I don't know if you remember, Jonathan, a couple of months ago, we actually got an offer for the channel. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And it was, let's just put it this way. If you go back just a couple of years ago, when I was moving things around in a spare bedroom so I could set up a camera and do the John Campea YouTube channel on my own, if you had told me then the amount of money I was going to be offered to buy our channel, I would have said yes right immediately.
Yeah.
But, I told Jonathan the amount that the offer came in on, and both of us, like just me and Jonathan, were both like, that's nowhere near enough.
Yes.
That is not anywhere near
That was
enough.
low ball. I mean, that
And-
was the low ball of low ball.
And it was an amount that 5 years ago when I started the channel, I would have gone,
Sure.
hell yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But when I do sell it, it'll be for a lot.
Yeah.
It'll be for a lot.
It would have
hopefully.
been like, I think Zuckerberg taking Yahoo's first offer a long time ago, I think, for Facebook. Like, yeah, why would you do it?
Well, not everybody knows. You actually know Zuckerberg.
Yes. I'm 05 like Mark Zuckerberg.
You went to school with him.
I went to school with him, and I know his wife, and his wife's close friend was a close friend of mine as well. So, and the Winklevoss twins and that whole crew. Shout out to Divya, Narendra.
Are we allowed to say something?
No.
Okay, never mind. That's why I looked at you first. Like, am I
already
allowed
know
to
what
say
you're gonna
something?
say.
Okay, there's something I know that you guys can't know.
about now?
There's so many little secrets. Well, we probably can, but let me run it by him first.
Oh yeah, no, that's all right.
I
That's
think
all
we
right.
can the next one. We'll say it. But Divya, who is, and he is Indian. If you've watched The Social Network, he's the Indian who works with the Winklevoss twins, who creates Connect You. I was just talking to him like yesterday. He's like living in Connecticut. He has this new company. He also works on the board of Gemini. The Winklevoss twins are huge into crypto now, as you know. They have like a crypto bank. I was on a cruise with them like 5 years ago.
Crazy.
We're on a cruise together. Anyway, Divya is like, has kids, and we're all kind of settled down. I really regret that I didn't work for Facebook when he launched Facebook. I don't know if I'd be sitting here right now, John, but
And now, if you guys
It is
know,
what it
if you do
is.
the math, that means like just so you guys know,
how old I am.
Brooke's a Harvard grad. Like Brooke went to Harvard.
I'm a true nerd, guys.
She's a true Harvardite.
I'm a Harvardian.
All right, Harvardian. What's next?
Oh goodness, now I'm blushing. Okay, Harry Katsaros, hopefully I said that right too, mentioned in the same Variety article last week as new Superman movie in development was news of Matt Reeves developing shows and movies for Scarecrow, Clayface, and Professor Pig. What do you think of this report, John?
See, here's the thing, Harry. I looked at that report and I might be the one who's wrong. Totally, I'm not completely sure about this, but I think everybody misinterpreted what that article was saying. I don't think it was specifically saying that he was developing a Scarecrow show and a Professor Pig show and whatever. I think what the article said, it's a matter of semantics, but I think what it was saying is he's developing shows which would feature characters like blah, blah, and blah. So that's a big difference between those two things. So I'm not exactly sure that it was saying that, but I will ask James Gunn the next time I talk to him and see what he says about that. All right, what's next?
Zach Taylor says, what a boring afternoon. Wonder what you and the crew will be talking about on tomorrow's show.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the lead will not be Barney. Tomorrow's show is clearly going to be dominated and headlined by this James Gunn thing. I listen, it just came out, but it could not happen to a nicer guy. Like seriously, James Gunn. Don't get me. I don't hang out with James Gunn. Believe me, I've exchanged some messages with him. That's the extent of it. I don't know him, right? But in the hours that I have spent with him, this is just like one of the nicest, sweetest, kindest. And you talk to the people he's worked with. I mean, yeah, and you know, I've talked to Chris Pratt about him too. Like Pratt just can't say enough about James Gunn. Like everybody who works with James Gunn loves James Gunn. Like would do anything for him.
No, I want to meet James Gunn.
He is such a nice guy.
Can we bring him into the studio?
So not only do I like it, it's fun because not only do I respect him as a creative genius, I love, again, his favorite movie of mine is still Slither. And if you guys have not seen Slither, you got to watch Slither. But so he's super talented, super great, makes wonderful content. But on top of that, he's a super nice guy. And it just couldn't happen to a nicer guy in the world. So I'm thrilled for him. I'm totally thrilled for him. All right. What's next?
All right. Let's see. Hoopsuni says, Triangle of Sadness. Oops. I'm not sure what that means.
What was that again? What was the Triangle of Sadness?
I just saw it last
Taylor
night.
just saw it.
It's about
comedy.
somebody's face, right? Yeah, I remember.
Well, the Triangle of Sadness is like this area right here.
Yes, and it was. I just saw it in something. I'm like the Triangle of Sadness, but I can't remember what it was.
The movie is supposed to just be like a comedy, but it fell flat.
I don't think the movie. I think it was from a trailer, but I could be wrong about that. All right, what's next?
Okay.
Sorry,
it's
I'm trying to find the sock part 1, but let's just go to James LH for now.
Okay.
John, just before this open mic, I have just been to an 8:30 p.m. UK time screening of the Banshees of Inisherin.
Yep.
Totally deserving of the great reviews.
Yeah, of course, when we first talked about the Banshees of Inisherin with Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell, it was one of the few, I can't remember the last time I saw a movie with over 80 reviews still holding 100%. Now, it's no longer 100%. Let me see here.
What is this on Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah, so on Rotten Tomatoes. So right now, it no longer holds its 100%, but what's it holding? Okay, now with 150 reviews in, it is holding a 99%.
Wow.
With a grand total of...
Who's the one curmudgeon that was like, no?
The Arizona Republic. And this is what the Arizona Republic said. There are two negative reviews out of the 150. The Arizona Republic, which is one of the ones to give it a negative review, said, it's visually stunning, well written, and the acting is top notch.
Sounds awful.
Sounds terrible. But without context, the plot falls flat, leaving behind an unsettling and bizarre film. Okay, so a negative review is saying it's visually stunning, well written, and exquisite acting. So
that tells me it's quirky, and they're not into quirky movies.
Yeah.
Or you mentioned plot context. So is he saying that it got started in a way that he wasn't prepared for? They didn't give him enough backstory?
But how do you say something is well written and say that the plot falls flat? Like, isn't that?
Yeah,
That's the
whatever.
writing. I mean, maybe they just mean the dialogue is great.
Is there not a good denouement? I mean.
And then the other negative
bullshit.
review is from somebody named Bennett Campbell from something I've never heard of before. So whatever. But out of 150.
Yeah.
Two, and even the worst negative ones
sound
pretty good.
It's like, this movie's amazing, but I hate it.
I
Anyway,
couldn't follow it.
I'm very jealous you had a chance to watch that. All right, what's next?
All right, so we're gonna do the sock part 1, and then I'll go back to part 2 of it.
Okay, great.
Okay, so the sock says, I'm finally enlisting in the military after a year and some change of being processed. I signed my contract Thursday. I shipped Tuesday and will be serving a 4-year tour in Rob's home state.
Oh, Seattle,
By
Washington.
the way, thank you for your service. It's going to be a long couple months without y'all while I'm in training, plus no going to movies, though. Oh, man.
Oh, that's the rough part. It is funny. First of all, that's awesome. Congratulations to you, Sock.
Thank you for serving.
It is funny how often we have had people write in and say, yeah, I watch you guys in, like with a lot of people in the military service, find a way to watch the show. And they write to us quite often, which is always great to see. But anyway,
awesome.
guys, that's a huge step for you. That is awesome. Congratulations on that. And may you have a safe 4-year tour, my friend. All right. What's next?
And try to steal somebody's phone or something.
Yeah. And
Jump
tune
on.
in once in a
See
while.
what you can do. Dante Sorecchia, or Sorecchia, it's Italiano, says, so with Thor 4's success, honestly, it was no matter the reaction. I don't know what see you, honestly. It was no matter the reaction to it. Do you think Taika will return? If not, do you see Hemsworth coming back? Thanks. And what was your BOTF?
Bring on the filthy. That's
Bring
right.
on the
Which
filthy.
came about after your time at AMC.
I was not around.
when that was born.
Yeah.
You know what? It's hard. Just so you know, I liked Thor: Love and Thunder. I have some big issues with it. I had some big problems with it. But at the end of the day, it was kind of like Black Adam. I walked out of it saying, yeah, I had this problem with it, this problem with it, this problem with it. But I'd be lying if I told you that I didn't have fun. I did have fun. And I laughed and it was good. But I did have some issues for it. And Taika Waititi took that incredible humor to seriousness balance that he had in Ragnarok and went too far to the humor and silliness in Love and Thunder. And it still made truckloads of money, but not as much as they maybe could have. And the response to and the reaction for it wasn't nearly as strong because everybody loved Thor Ragnarok. Will he be back? You know what? I have a feeling he won't. He's going to have a lot of opportunities. Obviously, he's an Oscar winner now. He's going to have a lot of opportunities to do a lot of things. He's still technically supposed to be doing the Star Wars movie. He's got Next Goal Wins coming out, which looks like it's going to be the next Jojo Rabbit and could be an awards contender for him. But even if they wanted him to come back, if you're Taika Waititi, why would you go back? It's Thor: Love and Thunder became the only thing in his career he's ever been criticized for. So why would you want to go back to it at this point? And with Chris Hemsworth, I don't know. I don't know if Chris Hemsworth goes back to play Thor again without Taika Waititi. Taika Waititi made Chris Hemsworth fall in love with playing Thor again. So does he go back and play Thor again without Taika Waititi? I'm not sure. It's a good question, and time will tell. Have you guys watched any of the Thor movies like together and stuff like that?
You guys don't like hang me today or by the neck here, but I have not watched a single Thor movie. And yeah,
Really?
And I'm a woman, and it's Chris Hemsworth. I mean, that just goes to show I've been lawyering too much. And
You've been a little too much lawyering and stuff
too
like
much
that.
lawyering. I
You
need to
would
get out.
love the first one. You would
Yeah.
love the first one. It's so good.
I have not watched.
All right, what's next?
Can I ask you though?
Yes.
Bring on the filthy. How did that originate? And what? And,
Okay, so I get
and
asked
I know
this
your
bunch.
personality, so
Okay.
I like it, but I'm just curious.
So here's where it comes from.
Okay.
It came from 6 or 7 years ago. I was doing a video like this one, kind of solo. And somebody was asking about, well, it might have been a little bit more than 6 or 7 years. It was right before the release of 50 Shades of Grey.
This was at Co Life.
No,
No,
I think
you
it was
were
before. I
saying-
think it was still at AMC.
Oh, okay.
And it was right before the release of 50 Shades of Grey. And somebody was asking about, why isn't it NC-17? Like, why are they just going R? And we were talking about you can do a lot of stuff with whatever. I said, but you don't necessarily need to do a lot. And during that whole conversation, I said, now don't get me wrong. I love filthy. Bring on the, and I said, I love the filthy. Bring on the filthy. But I was talking about things that wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
But I said, but don't get me wrong. I love filthy. Bring on the filthy. And after I said that once, all of a sudden, all the emails and messages that started coming in on the show ended with blah,
Bring
blah,
on
blah,
the filthy.
bring on the filthy. And
Love
it's
it.
just kind of stuck ever since. All right. What's next?
Okay. Hoopsuni says, anybody get a chance to see Triangled or Sadness?
He probably meant Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah, it's misspelled. Triangled or Sadness. I have it best of the year right now, above everything, everywhere.
No, I didn't even know if we were talking. I thought we were talking about something weird from a trailer or something like that.
There's a trailer it's to that movie.
I just okay. So
he's
that is the
talking
one that
about
it's
that
to.
movie.
Then I have not. I have not. I actually don't know much
Can we
about
see
it.
that picture again? I'm
Sure.
just curious because I want to see if I've seen that before.
Who's
Yeah,
listed
in
here?
it?
So it's Harris Dickinson and then Woody Harrelson's in it.
Woody Harrelson.
I saw this movie last night.
You
and
saw it?
It came out. Yeah, it came out. It's on its second week. I've been dying to see it, but believe it or not, I've actually been using all 3 of my A-list reservations, so I've been like not able to see it. And so I took the time to see it last night. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, and this movie could have been really good if they had cut some of the scenes short. Like there's one scene where there's a couple arguing, and it's very funny, but the argument lasts like honestly 10, 15 minutes, and the argument would have been much funnier if it was 7 minutes. And I just feel like the whole movie was like that, where there were scenes that were funny, but then they just kept going. And I was like, okay, we get the joke. Like, let's move on to the next joke. And they just dragged it. And I
wonder
feel like you could have cut a half hour out of that movie.
The director edited it. Sometimes it's hard to cut your own stuff. You're like, but I like this.
So you know who's the worst at that? Peter Jackson. Great director, falls too in love with his own
emotionally,
footage,
yeah.
and he's just unwilling to cut stuff
Yeah.
out that should be cut out.
Yeah.
That was never more clear than in his King Kong movie.
Yeah.
A good movie, but just
And
an
it's-
hour too long.
It's tough. Even when we were working on the
documentary?
A Love Story, there were times where I'm like, oh, do we have to cut this, John?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because you work so hard, you come up with this footage, but yeah, it's something you got to do. All right, what's next?
They say that in law school. If I had more time, I would have written, what was it? A shorter paper. That's what they say.
If I had more
Hey,
time,
yeah.
I like that. I would have
written
written
a shorter paper.
I like that. That is a great saying.
Yeah.
All right,
It's hard
what's
to-
next?
you just keep going. My Comic Planet says, what did you think of the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special trailer? I think Disney may be onto something with these specials.
I'll tell you what, I'll be honest with you. And we're going to talk about it more on the John Campea show tomorrow. I hated the first 15 seconds. Like we were gathered around and watched it. And like the first 15 seconds, I'm like, this is horrible. But then I started to tune in with what James Gunn was trying to do. He's creating what's the name of the network that has is it the Hallmark Channel?
Yeah.
the
Hallmark.
Channel.
He was trying to create a Hallmark Channel Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And once my brain tuned into that, I'm like, okay, this is funny. The Kevin Bacon stuff, like when the credit comes up says introducing Kevin Bacon, I just about died. I mean, it's funny, but it took me a few seconds to kind of wrap my head around what they were doing with it. But I really, really did like what I was seeing. Have you seen? It just came out today. Have you had a
No,
chance?
I haven't seen it.
We got to sit down and watch it
Okay.
once we're done here because
Okay.
it's really fun. And I'm all of a sudden, I was not. When's the last time you guys heard me talk about the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special? Never.
No.
Because I don't care. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I have not cared about this holiday special. I now care about it. So that's how
But you know
good this
those
trailer
old
was.
Hallmark movies, they do give you that nostalgia for Christmas, even though they're terrible and you already know
so
what's going to
bad.
happen. They're so bad and so predictable, but you're still like, yeah, this is Christmas. It's Christmas time, man. Let me have some eggnog and watch this movie.
Because as soon as the good-looking girl meets a good-looking guy, it's like, well, they're going to be married by
Yeah,
the end.
exactly.
It's going to end with a
She like
Christmas
trips
wedding.
and falls into
Well,
his
they
arms.
used to
That's
date.
how they meet.
Yes.
Well, I got into this whole
They're like
spiel
old high
already.
school
Yeah.
sweethearts.
Oh.
And, yeah.
All right, let's keep going here. What's next?
Okay, James LH says, hi, John. The last 3 Mondays at Cineworld screenings of Coppola's Dracula, then The Lost Boys. Last night, Poltergeist.
Wow.
Yeah, and next up, Carpenter's The Thing.
That is a fun
Wow.
thing to do.
Yeah,
I love
seriously.
honestly, I love it when big movie theaters do these special events, stuff like that.
do
We got a
too.
local theater that does Princess Bride every
Right.
year.
Mm-hmm.
And Ann and I go every year whenever they release these movies at Trust. But I have not seen The Lost Boys, which is my favorite
It's
vampire
kind
movie.
of frustrating because AMC has it listed as coming soon. I think it actually has it listed as now playing, but every time I click on the Lost Boys on the app, there's never any times. It shows
Huh.
that it's not playing. So
You know what really sucks? Seeing special events. Remember somebody wrote in the other day and said that AMC is doing a screening of the season premiere of Yellowstone and the
Right,
first
yeah.
episode of Sylvester Stallone's King of Tulsa.
Right.
I got all excited about it. It's on Saturday night.
Hmm.
The Toronto Maple Leafs are in town
right, and you're doing that
on
right?
Saturday night.
You're going?
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
I have
Obviously.
2 opportunities. And I'm lucky because they're back to back. They're playing the LA Kings in LA on Saturday night. So I'm going to that. And then they're playing in Anaheim the next night against the Ducks. So I'm going to that.
Nice.
And it's the only chance I ever get to watch the Leafs. It's so I'm going to have to miss the Yellowstone thing. I was really excited about
And
that.
is it playing locally at like an AMC?
It's playing at the Tyler. So, I mean, yeah, and I assume it's going to be at the Burbank 16 as well. Because, I mean, nothing's come out, so they got room. They got theaters.
You know what I don't take advantage of, and I should, living in like LA area?
Prostitutes.
Well, they're everywhere. But
Yeah, they're readily available.
Careful, my wife's listening. So no.
Sorry, Laura. Sorry.
But Quentin Tarantino's theater, the New Beverly. It's not that far from me, and they're always playing these old films that I'd love to see on the big screen. I never take advantage of that theater.
Yeah, a lot more of us should.
Back in Boston, they used to do a yearly screening of my favorite movie of all time, Breakfast at Tiffany's, and it's just different to see it on the big screen. It's so nice.
Yeah, and I was going to say I've never seen Lost Boys on the big screen. And that's my favorite vampire film of all time. All right, what's next?
Well, speaking of the New Beverly, they will be showing Shrek next month on the 12th and the 13th. I'm this close to renting out the theater. It's going to be on 35 millimeter film. I am working on it. We'll see.
For those of you who don't know, my assistant Taylor is a little bit obsessed with Shrek.
But Shrek's obsessed with me, so it's mutual.
Okay, there you go.
That's so
Then it's all good. It's all fair.
I have a video where I interviewed a guy who was dressed as Shrek. I have to send it to you. Like true Shrek, full makeup and everything. They were touring. It was like Shrek the musical.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I interviewed the Shrek.
You know what? You look familiar. I thought maybe you interviewed me when I was on Shrek the musical. Could you
Wait,
imagine?
were you on Shrek the musical?
I wish.
All right, let's keep going here. What's next?
You know what people are also obsessed with? Some people, not everyone, but Rings of Power. I hear they have a podcast too.
Well, that's actually a great segue because I forgot that we need to take a break here for a second and thank the sponsor. Thank you, Jonathan. The sponsor of this video, our friends at Wondery and their official Rings of Power podcast. Guys, we want to take a moment and thank a sponsor of today's video, Wondery, and their new podcast, the official Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power podcast. Guys, it's time to go deeper into the canals of Numenor, the mines of Khazad-dûm, and more with the official The Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power podcast. Host Felicia Day and several special guests provide an inside look at the groundbreaking series and what it took to bring Middle-earth to life. Each episode of the official podcast features exclusive interviews with the series showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, including the very first full breakdown of the incredible season finale. Felicia also goes behind the scenes with the cast and crew to bring you jaw-dropping stories and Easter eggs that you won't want to miss. So watch The Rings of Power on Prime Video and listen to all 8 episodes of the official The Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power podcast for free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app now. And thank you to Wondery and their new official podcast of Rings of Power for being a sponsor of this episode. Okay, guys, with that down, let's get through the last remaining questions that we have. So what do we have up next?
Okay, guys. First, Trevor says, hope Ray has a good recovery.
Yeah, I mean, again, Ray's doing well. He's at home. He will be back to work, not here physically, but he's going to start working on the show again tomorrow. He'll be in the live chat. He's going to make his thumbnails and stuff like that, but we're not going to have him come to the office. He's on crutches right now, one leg, but he'll be back in the office within the next week or so.
Very
All
soon,
right.
very soon.
What's next?
Alfie8 says...
Oh, no, Kevin.
Oh, Kevin, sorry. Kevin Rubio says, John, I really wish the Marvel comic universe characters would stay dead when they're dead. Also, John, they need to bring back T'Challa.
Well, no, here's the thing, Kev.
Well, that's kind of
T'Challa never died. That's the thing. They never had the actor, they never had the character die. The character never died. So they needed to recast T'Challa, not kill off the character. So yeah, I often criticize the MCU because, everybody knows I love the MCU, but one of my biggest criticisms about the MCU has always been, it's the Marvel fake death cinematic universe where someone died. Oh, just kidding, they're back. Oh no, then they died again. I mean, Loki's died like 5 times in the series. So that's one of the frustrating things. But T'Challa, it's not like he died in Endgame, and I'm saying they need to bring him back. The character never died. So I just thought they should have recast him, but that's just me. All right, what's next?
Now Alfie8 says, True Detective has one of the best first seasons.
Yeah, True Detective season 1 was great. I mean, it's hard to call that a season 1 because it is an anthology show where every season is completely new characters, completely different things. So it's hard to classify that as a first season. But yes, True Detective, I don't think one of the top 10 best first seasons of all time, but it's great. It's absolutely fantastic, and it was really, really well done. All right, what's next?
Nice. My Comic Planet writes, movie theater advertiser National Cinemedia is suing Regal for allegedly exploiting parent company Cineworld's bankruptcy to breach its advertising deal with the company. How big a deal is this, John?
It would all depend on the merits. I mean, this is something that you might have some input on too. So, look, Regal Cinemas is owned by Cineworld, a UK company. The parent company is in bankruptcy proceedings right now.
Okay.
They're trying to restructure under chapter 11?
Chapter 11.
So they're trying to restructure under chapter 11 right now so they can come out the other side. Regal's already shut down some theaters. Now, obviously, as being owned by Cineworld, Regal, who is shutting down theaters right now, are also a part of that restructuring. So they may be looking to, what's the name of the company again? Is that this is the company that does Nuvi? They might be the ones that do, with what's her name during the, what is her name?
Are you talking about
Maria
Menounos.
Maria Menounos. With
Maria.
Maria in the, it does that thing. So I think what's the name of it again? Bring it up again, Taylor. The, was it Cinemedia, National Cinemedia? So they run the pre-shows, right? So Regal pays them to produce these pre-shows that goes on. And I guess Regal is having to say, hey, listen, we're going under chapter 11. We're not going to be able to pay some of our debt to you or whatever. So now they're taking Regal to court to see if that can get resolved. But I don't know. To me, on the outside, without knowing the details, this looks pretty straightforward. If they get under that protection, there's going to be certain things they're going to be able to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you see this working out?
So what happens when you file for bankruptcy?
By the way, guys, not former somebody who used to did some things in law. This is a real working lawyer right now talking to us. So, okay,
and
yeah.
I'm a family law and criminal defense lawyer, not a bankruptcy
Bankruptcy,
lawyer.
right.
But I did practice civil litigation for some time. So when you file for bankruptcy, you are protected, and depending on your debtors, there's a lineup, right, of the creditors or whomever.
A pecking order.
There's an order, and you have to follow that order, and we don't know where they are in that order.
Or the details.
Or the details, what the breach, if there are any valid merits to this breach of contract, apparently, which, you have to look at the four corners of the contract and determine whether or not it's even valid. And then they get in the order in line, and some people get paid and some people don't. And that's just the way that it works. So,
but I will look more into the
without knowing
story.
the details, I can't say anything further, but I would imagine that, who knows, that eventually they'll get paid, especially if they're not insolvent, right?
No, that's the thing. They're just restructured to come out the other side.
So I would think that eventually they're going to get paid, but it might take a lot of time. The judicial system is very slow.
All right, what's next?
Bradley Frey says, I'm super interested to see what DC is planning with this move. Also, any first-time Superman reader recommendations for me?
Ooh.
It's an interesting question.
That's a good one. Like often when people ask me that, they often go to Batman, and I often say the Nightfall series. I think it's actually a great, even though it's a culmination kind of story, it's a great place to start. With Superman, I mean, what was the one? That's a good question. Let me think about that one for a bit. I will come back to you on that. But where's a really good place to start? You know what? This may be controversial, but a neat place to start. Like if you want to get started and get caught up a bit, go back to the death of Superman. Literally start there with the first Doomsday one, because that kind of harkened in what was at the time a new era of Superman stories, which ultimately obviously culminated with the return of Superman. Then they did some really, really messy stuff like with Steel and all that kind of stuff, but and the Kryptonian and everything. But it's a pretty good place to start. If you want to get caught up into a new era of the new Superman. So yeah, I'm going to go with that. All-Star Superman is also really good, but I would go back to the death of Superman and start from there. All right, what's next?
I bought that comic. I remember the day I bought that in the comic shop.
Yep, me too.
Wow.
I ran out and bought it the first day, like everybody else who had that collector's bag on it and everything too.
And then I went and bought when they came out with like the people who would take up the mantle, like that run,
Yep. They had the Cyborg, you had the Kryptonian, you had, but then I tore it up and threw it away as soon as they brought Superman back because it's like, so they lied.
It was like, well, what's the point of that?
They totally lied. And by the way, I know I've brought this up before. Who's the guy who wrote, what's the name of the Josh Trank movie.
Oh, are you talking? Oh my God.
It starts with a C. What's the word I'm looking for? Starts with a C.
I definitely have no clue.
Now,
Chronicle.
Yes. So the guy who wrote Chronicle, and
Like
I
I'm on the
forget
schmodown.
the guy who wrote Chronicle, who's a legacy guy in the business. But anyway, he did a video. Max, what was Max's last name? It was Max. Anyway, the guy who wrote Chronicle, Max Landis. Thank you.
Right,
Bobby Jackson's
Max
the first
Landis,
one.
yeah.
Max Landis. Thank you. I was freezing on that. So Max Landis made a video on YouTube years ago about the death of Superman storyline. And it is hilarious. John Schnepp is in that video, as a matter of fact. So is Mandy Moore. He's got Mandy Moore in the video too. So he did this whole video on the death of Superman, and it's hilarious and it's wonderfully done. But right at the end of the video, he basically makes this observation which was the death of Superman kind of ruined comics because it meant it was really the first time that in a real relevant way, they beat death in the sense that Superman died, but they just brought him back. And once that happened, once your consequences were gone, like now in comics, it does not matter if your favorite character dies. Today, before the death of Superman, if a major character, like if a character died, they were pretty much dead. I mean, there were some exceptions, but it wasn't like the common main thing now. Now, whenever a character dies, like I think Cyclops has been killed like 3 different times in the comics. It kind of ruined comics.
Captain America was killed.
Yeah,
and brought
Captain
back,
America shot on the steps in Washington.
only to find out that Red Skull actually had like his DNA, or it was a clone or something like that. And
yeah, it was all that kind of
Spider-Man
stuff.
died, and Doc Ock took over his body, but then eventually, it's just like.
And then you had like the whole Ben Reilly stuff. And it just goes on. Anyway, all right. I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but yes, start with the death of Superman. All right, what's next?
South Texas Shark. I'm from Texas. Go Texas. John, I must say that is a nice jacket. It is a nice jacket.
Oh, thank
John.
you. It was, you know what? Okay.
I'm getting military feel, but at the same time, like modern.
Yeah. So I thought I was buying a shirt.
Oh,
I bought
really?
this because I thought it was a shirt.
That's a sturdy shirt, John.
I know. I bought it the first time last week. It's just a little bit secret. 90 as a fashion expert, okay, because I'm Italian, so I'm expected to be fashion expert. Like most fashion experts, I buy 90% of my clothes on Amazon.
Okay.
And I just saw it and I
Okay.
thought it was a shirt. So I wore it for the first time last week. And like the first thing Jonathan said was, hey, that new jacket. I'm like, I thought it was a shirt, but I guess it's kind of a jacket. So
Amazon has
It
the
is
worst
nice, though.
descriptions on clothing.
yes, I thought it was a shirt, turned out to be a jacket. But I do like it. Yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. I got lucky with this
I've
one.
had bad luck with shopping on Amazon for clothing. I just don't do it.
You think it's one material and you get it and it's like a completely different
That
material.
or it's just so cheap, like the material, and you pay a good amount for it, and you're like, this is cheap. Like,
See,
I would
that's your
never-
problem right there. I don't pay a good amount for it. I pay as little
Yeah,
as
yeah.
possible
That's the
for
difference.
all of my clothing.
Well, I like the efficiency of the efficacy of it landing at my door via Amazon Prime, but I need to go
Yeah.
try things on as a woman.
Now, if you want a nice shirt, you would go to the good people at True Classic.
Yes, True Classic,
Ah.
who they literally the best things in my closet. That and my MeUndies, which come
Yeah.
to us from another
You
sponsor
compare
of ours,
you
MeUndies.
put those together, man.
Are the
you're
True
set.
Classics the one that like have the specific fit for?
They have the best fit
Showing
I've ever
off
had
the
with a shirt.
biceps
Yeah,
and-
it's
Yeah.
They have
it's
different. Yeah,
terrific.
they have different a range of fits.
Anyway, sorry. Let's keep going here. We got to get through this. What's
Yeah.
next?
Trevor says, regarding the Mint Mobile question from earlier, I would throw in the first season of Severance and especially True Detective, one of my favorite seasons of television of all time. People are loving True Detective.
Yeah,
Season
True
one
Detec-
was so good.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Severance is great. I listen, you guys have heard me talk about Severance. I love Severance. I wouldn't put it as one of the great first seasons of a television show of all time, though. Like, I thought it was really good. Can't wait to see season 2. Me personally, I wouldn't rank it up that high, but yeah, True Detective. Sorry, I got the hiccups now. First season of True Detective was absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
I would tell you a story, but I can't because Izzy's in the room, and I'm
That's my
have to-
daughter.
yeah, Brooke's daughter's in the room, so I have to just a little bit censor myself today.
She is
All right.
11 going on 30, mind you,
Yeah.
but regardless, I want to keep custody of her.
What's next?
It'll be easy. I'm a family law attorney. Rampage Predacon says DC dropping bombs the last few days. It's good to see.
Yeah, listen, between the return of Henry Cavill as Superman, James Gunn now going to be shepherding the boat over at DC. I'll tell you what, I've been saying it for a couple of months now. I believe it now more than ever. The future, and I don't mean in the next 6 months, I mean over the next 5 years, the future of DC on the screen is looking better than ever right now. I'm very, very excited about
Well, they've got it. They've got people that can execute now.
Yeah, now they got people who actually know what they're doing. It's going to be great to see what they can pull off. All right, what's next?
John Redcorn says, chances for a Black Adam Peacemaker crossover.
That would be a very, very short story. There you go.
Wow.
Now, of course, you got John Cena, professional wrestler, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, professional wrestler. But as far as the characters of Black Adam and Peacemaker go, that would be a very short fight. Black Adam would just
Wait,
kind
what
of.
were you saying? You'd say Black Adam would just.
I mean, it would just be
just
one
power
flick of
level,
his finger. Yeah, the power level is completely different.
He's basically on a Superman level.
Yeah, Peacemaker has no superpowers. He's just a dude who's really great with weapons and guns.
Oh, that's
And-
Izzy's favorite, John.
And a great eagle. A great eagly. Never forget Eagly. Best pet character in comic book
Or what
show
was that
history.
movie he came out in where he's a fireman?
Oh
remember
my
that
goodness.
movie?
It wasn't Keegan Michael Key, I think, was in that one too,
Yeah.
wasn't he?
That
What was
was
the
an
Taylor or
amazing
Jonathan? Can you look
yeah,
that one
I'm
up?
looking that up.
Is it Playing with Fire?
Where he's
It
like
might be where he's a fireman, and Keegan Michael Key's in it with
He falls in
him.
love with these kids who are just like crazy.
Oh,
Is it this thing?
there it is.
Yeah,
That's
Playing
it.
with
Yeah, Playing with
fire.
Fire.
We went and saw
That-
that in the movie theater.
Did you saw this in the movie theater?
I do have a child.
Did they Here's a
It
question
was
for you.
horrible, but
Did they actually let the movie finish before they pulled it out of theaters? Did they
They're
play
like,
the
"No."
movie all the way through?
yeah, we sat through that entire movie. It was pretty bad. The little girl was really good though. She's adorable. She was a good little actress. She kind of stole some of the scenes, but overall, it was hard. I'm glad that there was food, so I could distract myself.
There you go. All right, what's next?
Andy says, awesome to see a fellow OC native on the show. I'm not OC native. I do live in.
You
Orange
live in the
County.
OC right now,
I live
yeah.
in Orange County. I will rep OC all day. I'm a Texas girl, but I am so happy being in Orange County and not in LA anymore, guys. Sorry, I
Oh,
gotta say.
come on now.
I mean, it's all
Actually-
basically the same. Honestly, I live an hour outside of LA now. But when people ask me, I live in the LA area. I just tell
Yeah,
people I
yeah.
live in the LA
I
area.
do miss LA sometimes, but it's nice. The beaches are better.
Yeah.
I'm from a like suburban. I'm from Lubbock, Texas, so it reminds me a little bit of Lubbock. It's kind of boring, but beautiful. So,
All right.
go OC.
What's next?
Robert Goodwin says, John, I love your show. My question is, what is the favorite main theme to a movie? Mine is Jurassic Park. It's such a beautiful theme and charming.
It's the type of music, again, a John Williams score.
Mm-hmm.
It's the type of music that makes you feel awe and wonder. Ba, 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 ba. But all the different pieces in Jurassic Park are fabulous. Like, you know what I'm going to say. It's Star
What?
Wars.
Oh, Star Wars, of course.
Between
That's
the
an
main
easy one.
theme and the Imperial March and Leia's theme and like all, I get so swept up. That and Shore's Lord of the Rings score. Like sometimes when I'm like, if I'm crashing out on the weekend or if I'm going to bed late at night, there are YouTube channels that are just like images of the
Sure.
Shire
Yeah.
that just play.
Sometimes they have
Yeah.
like rain, but it's also
Yeah.
the Shire music or
But
whatever.
it's all the Shire music. Like that's when you know music to a movie is really magical. When all you have to hear is a few bars and your imagination takes you to that place.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I start hearing like that music, my mind is taken to the Shire and I love it. So that's great. But yeah, absolutely Star Wars 100%. All right. What's next?
Motawasa?
Yeah. Motasum, I think.
Motasum. John, you like Peacemaker over HBO's Watchmen?
1,000 times more. Honestly. Sorry. HBO's
Peacemaker.
Watchmen.
Yeah.
HBO's Watchmen. Yes, but I loved HBO's Watchmen. They are two radically different shows. But yeah, if I had to sit down, if I had to go away on a 2-month vacation on an island, I can bring one show with me to watch, either Watchmen or Peacemaker. I'm watching Peacemaker. Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, what's next?
Future Millionaire says, John, would you recommend to a more casual fan to watch Rings of Power since you almost dropped the show yourself? Would you recommend that?
I would, with the caveat that you gotta watch like the first 3 episodes in your first sitting. Because honestly, if I watched the first episode in isolation, I might have ditched on the show. Actually, I probably would have ditched on the show, but I was able to watch the first 2 episodes together. In the second episode, you start to see improvement. Not great improvement, but improvement. Like, honestly, this is a show that gets better and better as it goes, which isn't saying a lot because it starts at a pretty low point. But yeah, by the end of the series, the end of the season, I was on board with it. I was, but it took a while to get there. Nowhere near as good as House of the Dragon, but yes, I would recommend to check it out because by the end of it, I quite enjoyed it. All right.
That's how I feel about Yellowstone. I started it and I was like, I don't know. It's not going anywhere for me. I don't know if I can continue watching. And everyone's like, just keep going. You're going to love the female character.
Oh God, she's so
You're
good.
going to die for her is what all my girlfriends say. And so like, I got to get back on board. They're like, you just need to power through the first couple episodes.
Are you caught up?
No.
Oh, so you haven't watched the most recent
No,
season?
no, that's the whole thing. Like I couldn't get through it the first couple episodes. I was like, it's
Well,
just moving
the
too
people aren't
slowly
likable.
for me.
No one's
Yeah.
likable at first. So you're just like,
No,
So that-
no
maybe
one's likable at
that's
first.
why.
Why am I
But to
watching
me,
this?
it's the best show on TV now.
Really? Okay, I need to power
So
through.
you
it.
never saw the episode where Piper Parabo guest stars on it yet?
No.
Okay, because I think my favorite scene, for those of you guys who do watch Yellowstone, you'll know what I'm talking about. I think my favorite scene in all of Yellowstone is the scene where the daughter meets the Piper Parabo character. It's in the morning in a kitchen.
Are you spoiling this for me?
No, I'm not going to say anything else. It's just one of the best scenes on television. It was awesome. Okay,
Okay.
anyway. All right, what's next?
And people say that main character, the woman, reminds them of me. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Okay.
That's not good, is it? She's crazy, isn't she?
She's
like a narcissist,
but she's brilliant
but she's brilliant.
and
Okay.
she's a lawyer.
Maybe
So
that's not-
there's all that going for it too.
Oh God, I
All
don't
right.
want to know.
What's next?
Big Cookie says, now that Gunn is head of DC, we can finally get that Thomas Wayne biopic starring Billy Bob Thornton.
Okay.
Bring on the film.
So that is a big crossover inside joke because you have to have been watching Harley Quinn to also get that because, of course, in Harley Quinn, James Gunn is actually a character in the new season of Harley Quinn, and James Gunn is making the biography of billionaire Bruce Wayne's father being played by Billy Bob Thornton, who is actually dead and being impersonated by Clayface.
oh,
There's James Gunn and Harley Quinn. This season of Harley, I'm going to guess that you don't watch Harley Quinn.
I don't watch Harley Quinn.
It's
I just played her for Halloween.
Very, very adult. It's extremely adult,
Okay.
but it is so funny.
Yeah.
It's other than Arcane, I think it's my favorite animated thing going right now. It's
Adorable.
amazing.
have you seen any? Because I just don't have the guts. Have you seen any of the Batman's Butler story of Batman's Butler?
Oh,
Alfred?
Alfred. No,
Alfred.
but Pennyworth
Pennyworth
is what
yeah.
it's called.
Have you watched
I
any of
watched
it?
the first season
Okay.
when it was during a free period that you could watch it because it's a Star show, I think, or something like that, Stars or something like that. So I watched it for free. Its first season. I never watched it after that. I quite enjoyed the first season.
Because I think you can see it on HBO Max.
It's now on HBO Max,
Yeah.
so I am planning on getting caught up on it because the first season was actually quite good.
Okay.
So
All right.
yeah.
I read the title and I'm just like, I don't know.
Well,
if I
they
have the gut,
changed the title.
Yeah.
Remember, it just used to be called Pennyworth.
which is what it should be.
And now what does HBO call it now?
The story of Batman's Butler. Which
That's
shouldn't
right.
it be
Which-
Bruce Wayne's Butler? But
I know it's when Alfred was much younger.
Right.
And he first meets Thomas Wayne, like a young Thomas Wayne is involved. But it was quite
kind of
good.
reminds me of Agent Carter, where you had a young.
Yes.
I can't remember his name, but he's the butler.
Stark's dad.
Stark's, yeah.
Yeah.
Stark's dad, but also the butler was
Jarvis.
Jarvis, yeah.
The other Jarvis, yeah.
What's Pennyworth, his last name?
Yeah, so Alfred Pennyworth
Pennyworth.
is the name
Got
of the Alfred, the butler.
Alfred.
All right, what's next?
Louis Maester says, why does everyone hate Brendan Schaub? Did I say that right? I like
Yeah,
him.
Brendan Schaub, he's a UFC fighter turned comedian. And I'll be honest with you, I don't follow him.
Well, I hate his shirt.
Yeah, that is, I
Yeah.
mean, listen, this is coming from a guy who buys his clothes on Amazon. That dude needs to get a stylist because even I wouldn't wear that
Yeah,
shirt.
I'm not feeling that shirt.
That
Definitely
being
not
said,
Lady Mag-
I don't follow him, so I don't know why. Like maybe there's a very good reason people don't like him, but I've never had a problem with him.
Maybe
But then
he's
again, I
just
don't
a
follow him.
douche.
Maybe,
He
maybe.
has that look. I'm sorry, that's horrible. But
Yeah, but I don't
he
follow him, so I
doesn't
don't
look
really.
approachable.
I don't know the story behind it, but yeah, people don't seem to like him too much. But I always thought he was perfectly fine. But whatever. All right, what's next?
Let's see. Love Daggerborn says, have you ever thought of having a schedule of all of your shows on your banner?
No, I honestly, I find that pretentious. Don't get me wrong.
What is he saying exactly?
So on your YouTube channel, right at the
okay.
top of your YouTube channel,
All the
you've got a
time
big
slots.
banner that has like your
Right.
channel logo, whatever.
Right.
And what some people do is they put like Mondays, this show,
Oh, okay.
Tuesdays, this show.
I mean, it could be helpful and informative, but you think it's just
No, here's the
egotistical?
problem. I when you have a rock solid, just regular schedule, that's fine. We
Right.
tried to do that before on AMC and at Collider. Like we tried putting the schedule, but the thing is, our schedule is kind of sporadic. Look, everybody knows who watches our channel. Monday through Friday, the John Campea show, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Everybody knows that. But what and when our afternoons are is very, very different. And we mix it up. Like we can say, yeah, She-Hulk after show on Thursdays, but She-Hulk was only 6 weeks.
Right, so it varies.
And we'll
And
so
then
say
we-
much.
3, but
and we
sometimes,
ditched on it.
Sometimes we have production issues and we have to push to like 3:30. So it's
Yeah,
like,
so
What about the normal ones that are always the same time, like open mic?
that's only John Campea show. Because even
yeah.
open mic, we
even open
only
mic.
do on days that we don't have after shows. And
I see.
so
That
it
makes sense.
always
That makes
changes
sense.
around. So
Yeah.
I would rather just announce to our audience what's coming up today and this week, rather than have something that's advertising certain
and
times
then wrong.
and we never stick to it. So that's why I don't. It's great for other channels who don't have the production schedule that we do. That's perfectly fine and it works. For us, it just doesn't work. But thank you for the suggestion. I appreciate that. All right, what's next?
Joel Rolston says, James, really? Zaslav? I'm thinking like the apes and Spaceballs. Oh, SHIT. There goes the planet. Can we curse on this?
Yes.
yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, the
There
only
goes
reason
the
I'm not is
planet.
because your daughter's in the room. That's the
Oh
only
yeah, she's heard it before.
But
That's okay.
hey, listen.
Sure.
The art is subjective. That means your personal feelings about certain artists are subjective. To me, James Gunn is a genius. Like what he did with the Suicide Squad, again, I think it's the second best DC movie they've done right after Man of Steel. His Peacemaker is like the greatest show on television. Slither is one of the great things. He's got roots in horror and stuff. What he did with Guardians of the Galaxy, took these unknown characters that nobody had ever heard of and turned them into a global smash hit. So good that even Kevin Feige said, that's my right-hand guy. So, but listen, that doesn't mean he has to be for you. And if it doesn't work, if he doesn't work for you, that's totally understandable. There's artists that a lot of people like that I don't, and that's perfectly fine. So yeah, I mean, I think you're crazy, but I totally respect that because we all have different opinions of different artists.
To each
I
of them.
I will say though, thank you for that because I completely forgot about that scene in Spaceballs, and when I read that and it came through, I started laughing.
Spaceballs,
It's coming out of his
the all-time
nose.
greatest spoof movie.
Out of her nose.
Oh God, I love Spaceballs so much. All right, what's next?
The Batman, is that the one we're
Yep.
reading?
Oh my gosh, sends in a $50 super
wow.
chat.
Thank you.
Thank you, the Batman, so much.
Very nice.
You sent in, I think you sent in a $50 one earlier today too. Thank you so much for that, dude. All right, what does he have to say?
Batman who's got the coin. I feel like James Gunn pitched an overall story to Zaslav that would eventually lead to an end game event, which helped him to get the job.
I doubt it. That doesn't feel like James Gunn's style to me. I think what James Gunn, look, what DC needs is not to become Marvel 2.0. All right, it's not to go, well, here's how we're going to do our big shared cinematic universe. It's all going to build up to a big end game. No, formula is garbage. Who cares? What I think he probably came in was with a vision of what the universe is, about how we treat these characters and their individual stories. And his overall, I think it's going to be what won this out is his overall feeling about what should the tone of this universe be? Not about what's our end game storyline. No, screw that. Who cares? Just make good individual movies. And I think he's, I think that's what he probably brought to Zaslav. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised at all if it was Zaslav that approached him. Look, again, everybody's got to remember this. He was Kevin Feige's choice to be his right-hand guy, to kind of govern and oversee a whole dimension of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So clearly everybody thinks he's the right guy for this. So, but I don't think it's coming up with a story for a big overall thing, because that's something that a director brings, not what the head of your studio brings. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do. Very, very stoked. All right, what's next?
All right, so that is it that showed up on the activity feed. There's just one that I found that did not load, so I'll go ahead and read that one for you guys.
Okay, what's that?
Okay.
It comes to us from JW, who says, do you think Henry Cavill's return to Superman lessens his chance to be the next James Bond?
No.
He was / is my top choice for the next 007.
He's also my first choice. And much like Superman, remember, he was the runner-up to play Superman to Brandon Routh when they did Superman Returns. Then he eventually did get to play Superman. He was also Daniel Craig's runner-up to playing James Bond. He was going to be James Bond if Daniel Craig fell out, right? But this is what everybody forgets. A lot of actors make 3, 4, sometimes 5 movies a year. So just because he's playing Superman in 1 or 2 things does not at all stop him from being able to still play Geralt of Rivia in The Witcher, or stop him at all for playing in other movies, including a James Bond. So no, him playing Superman does nothing to his chances, good or bad, to playing Bond. Again, is he going to end up being Bond? I don't know, but he is my number one choice as well. But there's lots of actors they could select that I'd be perfectly happy with. But again, him being Superman doesn't help his chances, doesn't hurt his chances at all. Do you have a pick for who you think? Is there somebody in your head that you'd like to see as a James Bond?
Honestly, I really think Henry Cavill will make an amazing Bond. I don't know that I have someone specific right now that I think would be a great James Bond. I would have said, I don't know, this is going to be very controversial. I would have said before all of this, I want to eat you stuff, Armie Hammer.
Oh yeah,
But,
he would have made a.
Armie Hammer would have been a great
But they
James
never
Bond.
would have cast an American guy.
No, yeah.
They
would've stuck
never
with
would
Brit.
cast an American
I
guy
thought
to
he
do
would
it.
have been great, but then he just went and ruined it with all of his tendencies.
Well, and then of course, Henry Cavill and Armie Hammer did a movie together. They did Man from U.N.C.L.E. together, and they were great in it. But then, yeah, Armie Hammer went a little bit crazy.
Kind of put his foot in his mouth.
Or somebody
in
else's
his
foot in his
No
mouth.
pun intended.
Yeah. All right, guys, that'll do it for this installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here and making this little video part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the super chats. Number 1, because it gave us great fun things to talk about. But number 2, you supported our channel as you did it. And all of us, thank you so much for your support. I want to thank Brooke Solis for being here. Brooke, you also have a podcast, a legal podcast, a true crime podcast.
It's coming out.
Coming out. Tell us just a little bit about it quick and who you're doing
really
it with.
quickly. So you guys know I practice family law. I also formerly practiced criminal defense, still do a little bit. It is a true crime murder podcast coming out around Halloween time. That's the hope. And it's with Jillian Barbary. She is a LA Hollywood icon, guys. And she knows so much about famous Hollywood crimes, murders. It's called Murderphoria. Because, it's just euphoric to hear about these ridiculous serial killers. And it's going to be so much fun. Crime, goriness, death, you name it. I mean, with Jeffrey Dahmer doing as well as it's doing right now. We'll be bringing in investigators. We're going to do a whole thing on the Manson family. She's good friends with Deb Tate, Sharon Tate's daughter. I mean, we have a lot of insiders who are going to be speaking and giving real knowledge. It's not just going to be 2 women having a glass of wine, reading Wikipedia. Like, it's a way more high level. You want to check it out.
All right. Well, and thank you for being here today. So good to have you here. Big thanks to the guys behind the camera, of course, Jonathan Voico and Taylor has been running the control center there. Good to have you guys here. And of course, my name's John, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.